Marvel has finally revealed its Phase 4 logos, and I'm super excited to see what they have in store. They have plenty of options and plenty of things they've got going for the year 2020 and 2021. Let's go ahead and dive and take a look into the logos that they have revealed to us thus far. So first, we have Black Widow. Here they went ahead and with a sans serif font. I like the texture that they have here. Plus, they also have the Black Widow logo mark, as well as the two horizontal rule lines, it looks like, webbing and kind of bringing and unifying the logo together. And they went ahead and added some really rough, grounded texture into that. So I kind of like that. It definitely has that sand time that you see typically on the backs of those spiders. So I like how they tied that together. I like how Marvel Studios went ahead and implied that into the logo type and with the mark itself. Next, we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, here's what's interesting about the typography they chose for this is they're not necessarily, it's not too militaristic in its approach. Like, they didn't go with a whole stencil use. They went ahead, they used textures. They used the Captain America shield, and that actually reinforces the patriotic feel that they want to go with in this logo itself. So I like the way that they actually put this together. And it also has the feel of the American flag by having everything justified. It presents it in a long form, so it has this rectangular look and feel to it, and has the horizontal dividing lines, and it looks very, very patriotic. And so I like the way they did this. It still reinforces the use of the patriotism, the use of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier without being too overbearing. So I think that's a good choice. I think it's a great way to go ahead and typeset that, and stacking the and the, and having that just completely just fitting in there naturally and nice. Next, we have the Eternals, or just Eternals. Here, it looks like it kind of reminds me just a little bit, not too much, but it definitely reminds me of Papyrus. And I think it's because of the strokes that they have within the bars of the actual typeface and the strokes that they have here. Those really, really thin lines that even follows the curvature of the S. So it has like this really rustic, kind of like mythological texture to it. And the designer even decided to go ahead and give it much more of an ethereal feel by adding the stars, the galaxy, the universe, and like a mystic cloud in the background, kind of focusing in your eye into the mystery of Eternals, and decided to add in some shimmers of light on that top layer, so you can see where the light, just single taps of light upon each character, and that just, it really, really brings home much more of something that's otherworldly and advanced, but yet foreign, and it seems almost old. Like, it's been around for a while, but they're way more advanced. Eternals are way more advanced than something that we've experienced here on Earth. Next, we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. I'm excited about this logo type here. It looks like they ended up using a variation of All-Star by Fly Fonts here with the main title, and then the subtitle and the Legend of the 10 Rings. They ended up using Albertus Pro Roman by Monotype. And so that's a very good selection, especially the variation they used for the title type. And they even went ahead and masked out a dragon in the background. So that's a very nice choice of colors, using the gold and then having the hand painted 10 rings in the background. So it kind of looks like the old calligraphy that you would see. So to kind of reinforce the nostalgia that they have within the Eastern culture. So that's a very, very good unification of type and image and bringing it all together for cultural relevance. Next, we've got WandaVision. Now, I don't know too much about WandaVision, but from what I'm getting, the feel that I get immediately from this logo is that it's something that seems somewhat futuristic, almost cyberpunk in a way. And so by the lines, by the color, by the use of highlights, by the gradient of the light gray to the space gray, that definitely brings together, and plus the type actually uniting together, it seems that there's going to be much more of a connection between not just like maybe the past and the future. So being able to bring things, just seeing things in a way that no one can perceive the future in being. So like I said, I don't know exactly what WandaVision is, but it does seem like something interesting just based on the logo type alone. Next, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Of course, we're all familiar with Doctor Strange. It has that Stranger Things feel to it with the Doctor Strange logo, and we have in the Multiverse of Madness. Of course, it seems that there's a lot of things going on with this typeface. I mean, they're using 3 different typefaces here. And you can tell just by looking at the actual anatomy, but it definitely, by using a multitude of typefaces in this instance, definitely going to be in for a treat for something even stranger. And the Multiverse of Madness just takes things to a whole new level. So by the use of the red, by the use of the grays here, it definitely has much more of a warmer feel to it, to the tone. And putting things in all caps and initial caps definitely, so all caps and small caps as well, it definitely has something of a strong, a bold feel to it, and even enunciating the Multiverse of Madness, making that much larger as the actual title, and Doctor Strange as somewhat of an accent. Even though it is Doctor Strange is the main character, they've made it the Multiverse of Madness just really stand out to let you know that you're going to be definitely on for a roller coaster ride. Next, we have Loki. There's been some controversy about this logo type. And people say that they didn't like it. People were asking, where's the logo? I'm like, this is the logo. Now, what's interesting, if you've watched different versions within the Marvel films, specifically with Thor and the Avengers, Loki is very, very mysterious. He's very tricky. He's very deceiving. He can clone and essentially make himself like a doppelganger into anyone that he wants. So by using different typefaces and using different textures and elements, the lighting is still pretty consistent from what I can see, except for the first letter of the L, but because the texture isn't reflect light like the metal would or the gem. So it's because of his character, because of his nature, I think this is a great choice, a great use to use for Loki because of his adaptability and his ability to adapt and survive and be cunning and be tricky. This makes it uncertain about who Loki actually is, whose side he's on. Is he in it for himself, or does he at least have enough empathy to help others in need? But typically it's going to work out for him in the long run. So for what the designer did and for what the art director and the team had chosen for Loki, I think this is absolutely perfect. What if this is actually going to be Marvel's first feature animated film, creating variations of what could happen? And I like how they kept it very, very directly in reflection to the Marvel Studios logo. And the what if they didn't want it to make it its own entity. It's just a variation of the Marvel universe in the world of what could happen. They went ahead and put a stroke around the actual logo type, and then the ellipsis with the question mark to create that sense of mystery and possibility, and endless possibility, which also reinforces within the typeface. Having the really tight kerning on it makes it reinforce the Marvel Studios brand, and it's very very simple. It's very, very on brand, and I like how that this was applied, because you don't want to throw people off too much. And by looking at this logo, you can tell that, okay, this is something that I'm going to be familiar with, but the question of what if, that presents a whole new realm of possibility. Next, we have Hawkeye. Hawkeye, of course, having that target and of course the arrow in the vertical stroke of the H. And then, of course, in the counter of the I, you have the target, Hawkeye. It looks like it has like a monospacing on it. So they wanted to kind of keep that distance pretty well balanced, going ahead and applying the yellow. And it's a very clean, a very, very simple look. I wouldn't say that this is my favorite, and because it's simple, which isn't an issue, but there's something about, I think it might be the A itself. There's something going on with the A that looks almost out of place compared to the rest of the type. I mean, that's just me speaking, but I think that maybe in the long run, they might end up choosing to present it differently. Maybe they won't. It also reminds me of Bullseye from Daredevil. He has that bullseye on his forehead, but I totally get the whole Hawkeye target, arrow, and using those elements. I just think they probably could have been used in a more effective way that would definitely reinforce what we're already familiar with, unless they are completely rebranding it, which they could be doing here. So it'd be interesting to see how they play it out. But from what we've seen in the past, this probably isn't my favorite one, but I digress. Moving on next, we have Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, if you notice, Thor Ragnarok used the exact same gradient. He used a gradient. It was very, very retro. They wanted to keep it fun and light and funny. And here they reflected the exact same thing. It was Thor Ragnarok was very, very successful. And it basically had that very nostalgic, very, very like retro 60s, 70s feel to it, the Love and Thunder. So they're going to go ahead and apply that here as well, because the other brand was just definitely on point. So they're reinforcing the same tonality and the same feel by using this 3D typeface and then having it protrude and advance toward the character. So we're kind of viewing it from a slightly downward angle as if we're looking up on something glorious and on something huge. And that's going to be very, very exciting. So definitely using the 3D type and then shifting the perspective slightly downward as if we were looking on something monumental was definitely an interesting play on how they did both sides. And then, of course, you know, using in the subtype, the Love and Thunder, you know, having the initial caps of the L, the T, and of course at the end of the R, having those descend past the baseline has much more of a reaching effect, like it's pulling you in to a new experience. And finally, we have Blade. Blade is a vampire that he's a half vampire, half human, also known as a daywalker. Now, what makes him unique as a vampire is that because he's a half-breed, he can actually walk out during the day, which isn't something that vampires are traditionally known to be able to do. So with this type treatment, they went ahead and they used type as an image. Essentially, they used type as shape. They leveraged both the anatomy and traditional shapes, squares and triangles in this instance, and they made it so they provided enough contrast so that you can see, you can make out, read the word blade, but also having the contrast between the light and the gray, which means that there's be able to be in the dark and being in the sunlight simultaneously. And so that was been really, really reinforced into this messaging. I have a funny feeling that there might be other plays that they would be able to do just with this alone. They might be able to use the actual sunlight in some of their campaigns, maybe leveraging the type in a way that casting shadows would create the other letters. Of course, they'd have to experiment and play around with it, but I could definitely see an actual billboard that leverages the placement, the position of the sun throughout the day that would reveal the other shapes, if you will, of this character and of this typeface, and having it play a part like a real live experience design campaign. So that is it. That is what they have so far for Marvel Phase 4. Let me know what your thoughts. Do you like these logos? Do you hate these logos? Which one was your favorite? Which one was your least favorite? Let me know. I look forward to engaging with you, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks, and have a great day. And always remember, the light at the end of the tunnel may be you.